ना काही नहीं करतो, काही नहीं करतो.
નથી આવતું. હા, હવે આવશે માથું. હેડ કપાય છે.
ओम स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. So today being the alternate Sunday, we shall be discussing about Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. Because last Sunday we discussed about the incident where Vijay Krishna Goswami is interacting with Sri Ramakrishna. We discussed about that. But today we will, as we used to do earlier, alternately we discuss the great master and the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, so that it can help us to understand the life of Sri Ramakrishna in the light of his own teachings. So gospel is predominantly the teaching part of Sri Ramakrishna's message, and since the life and message are intimately connected to each other, it is very often seen that if they are understood together, if they are understood complementing each other, then we have a better idea of Sri Ramakrishna's message, because his life cannot be studied separately, disconnected with the message that the prophet gives. That does not help an aspirant to understand his ishta or ideal. Especially this is mainly for those who consider Sri Ramakrishna to be a world teacher or an avatara who will be helping us in our spiritual life in some way or the other. Everybody approaches God with a different attitude, and there's nothing wrong with that, because our scriptures support the idea that as many people with different tendencies, different ideas, different emotions, different levels of intelligence, they will understand their God in their own way. Their God means what they consider to be truth or the highest reality. So Swami Yatiswaranji used to say that our conception of God motivates us to mold our life accordingly. People have been worshipping God in various ways, in various forms, in different aspects. Some of them are partial aspects, some of them are, they represent God much better than these partial aspects. Some are happy with the partial aspects. It can be as crude as, I need a God because I have a lot of desires, I cannot humanly fulfill them, and God helps me to give them, to get them. If God helps me in some way or the other, how He helps me to get it is not important, but my prayer or my approach to Him is to fulfill my little desires. So beginning with that, we have several levels of one's understanding of one's own ishta. Ishta means, literally it means one who is dear to a person, a spiritual aspirant in particular. Ishta means that which you like, that aspect of God which you like, which you would like to make your own, with whom you would like to build a relationship. So Swami Sardanji in this chapter, the first two paragraphs we have gone through, we find that he is discussing, especially to the followers of Sri Ramakrishna, what attitude we should have towards incarnations in general, because we accept, Hindus accept, and even many other religions accept the idea of prophet or somebody who helps us to be one with that reality which we believe or which we hope to attain someday or the other. And the avatara or the Ishta, through his grace, we possibly achieve that. With that hope, they meditate on the Ishta, they worship the Ishta, they do whatever sadhana they do is normally centered around that Ishta. And our scriptures also wisely say that the Ishta should not keep on changing. Because if that happens, then the characteristics or the ideas, the philosophy and the teachings, the life, everything is centered around one particular Ishta. And if it keeps changing, then the approach or the journey takes a lot of time. It is like if you have a main highway on which you are supposed to travel. If you just follow that highway and reach the goal, it's much easier to reach the destination than taking bypasses and taking a roundabout route. You will ultimately reach. Any god or any Ishta will help you. But changing our Ishta or changing our ideal who will help us to reach the goal of life very often results in delay in reaching the goal. Sri Ramakrishna doesn't say that you have to be one-sided, but at the same time he says intensity is required, but at the same time you should be extensive, you should be liberal also, and accept the right of others to follow their own ideal, their own Ishta. So we see a very peculiar tendency that within a particular family there are different Ishtas, different gurus. The Indians are, in the Indian tradition, that is not at all prohibited. It is encouraged, in fact, that each one has his own guru, his own way of sadhana, own mantra, own Ishta. And that should not conflict with any other person. That is the greatness of Hindu religion. We don't believe that there is only one way to attain God. There are not only multiple ways, but there can be a combination of ways. But what is not desirable is to have multiple Ishtas. Multiple paths are okay. See, you remember Sri Ramakrishna always said, Joto mat, tato path. That means as many paths, as many faiths, so many paths. But that doesn't mean that you have to try each one of them. Though he did it, in his own life he did it, to show that each one is a valid path. But for sadhakas, they have to maintain one particular Ishta and one particular relationship with that Ishta. So now, the previous class we argued, if that Ishta has come down as a human being, or we consider that he has come down as a human being for our sake, and then when we see he is behaving like a human, he has hunger, he has thirst, he has illnesses, he has diseases, as we see in this case of Sri Ramakrishna. Even in Ramchandra's life, he has his sorrow. He also wept when his Sita was taken away by Ravana. He also lamented, he had his grief. So many human qualities you will find in all the incarnations. So the question, devotees somehow feel that if he has human qualities like us, then what way will that help us? Knowing that we have tried a lot getting human help from people whom we think are our own, and none of them were really able to help us. So what will this God who has come in another human form, will he really be able to help us? Because he himself is human. He is himself. Many of the devotees who were superficial, they found, oh, what is this? He is suffering from cancer. He cannot then, because they had gone to him with selfish interests. Perhaps they wanted some disease to be cured. So they thought a person who cannot cure his own disease, How can that incarnation help us? So many were filtered and only the genuine ones remained. According to Shardanji, that was also part of the Leela. We don't want a crowd, we want genuine people. I mean, Sri Ramakrishna believed that his message can be best conveyed by a select group of people who will never lose their faith and have developed an intimate relationship with that Ishta. They are not going to be fooled. He was testing Swami Turiyananji. He said, see, everybody says, Ramchandra Datta says, I am an avatar, I am an avatar. And you see, I am having so much pain. Can you not see? I don't know why these people are saying that. And you see, I am suffering from so much pain. Then Turiyananji says, you may tell whatever you like, but I see, whenever I come here, I see you are floating in bliss. You are absolutely not touched by this, the disease or this ailment which is just affecting your body. Then Sri Ramakrishna is very happy because he understood that Swami Turiyananji has really understood the inner secret of one's own Ishta or one's own ideal. So that is why Swami Shardananji in this book, he says, why do devotees often don't stick to their Ishta? Why do they keep changing the Ishta? Is it because they lack faith? Is it because the philosophy of life is not very clear? Or is it because they have other interests? They are more interested in their worldly possessions than God. If that is the case, you can't blame. Then they will reject every Ishta. But just rejecting or just losing faith in Ishta because he has human qualities, that is wrong. To prove that this attitude, why incarnation takes upon himself these human weaknesses, and why devotees don't like their Ishta to have this. If somebody points out, they get upset. No, our Ishta is all powerful, all knowing, and they like to attribute all the great things. So that's why some of the biographies of our, like Chaitanya, most of the biographies, they don't consider the Antya Leela. He said, how can our Ishta die? He is eternal. He is Parabrahman. He is eternal. So they don't want to even discuss his Mahasamadhi, his giving up of the body. That's why we are celebrating Easter. Now we talk about the resurrection, that Christ resurrected. So also you will find many stories that really they don't give up the body. They somehow want to attribute an eternal nature to the physical body, which time and again the incarnations have told that it is a totally wrong attitude. Jesus Christ also said, the kingdom is of the spirit, and I am a king there, not of the body. Even if the body is crucified, the spirit is eternal. And I have realized that is why I am eternal in the spiritual sense, not in the physical sense. Anything that has birth has to die. So that is why human beings or ordinary devotees don't like to attribute or don't like to even discuss the fact that there is an Antya Leela. So also you will find that is they are adverse to this view, which will they think will diminish their devotion. What? My Ishta is suffering from diseases to consider himself. That's why even the photographs of Sri Ramakrishna, where people somehow do not want to see those things because they attribute everything to the gross body. They do not see the eternal element. Then why does incarnation take up the body? That is the question. Can he not inspire us directly? Can he not inspire our subtle mind sitting, without having taken a human body? Why does he suffer? So, Swami Shardanji tries to argue that there are other roles a incarnation plays. It is not just to give grace. In the early stages of devotion, perhaps you would like to see your God as supreme, and we also meditate on God. We are told to meditate on God at Satchidananda himself, who has taken this form, as I would like to meditate him on as that. He is not any ordinary jiva. We don't attribute jivahood to these incarnations. But as he advances in spirituality, he seems to have some kind of attachment to the human aspect of the master. Now he is trying to explain why the human aspect is important. For example, we have the classic example which Swami Shardanji discusses, is that of Yashoda. She was very happy that Krishna was, though he was not her real child, but she was not knowing that. And she was very happy to have Krishna as her child, such a lovely baby. And she had a deep emotional attachment to the physical Krishna. Krishna tried his best. If you see the incidents of his life, once he ate some mud and she was worried that that will spoil his health. So she started beating him, scolding him. Said, you have eaten this rubbish, something you have eaten the mud. I want to see. He says, no, I have not eaten. He was a very mischievous kid. And when he said, then open your mouth. Then you see, I'll open my mouth. See, there's nothing. And when he opens the mouth, she gets a vision of the entire universe in his mouth. That's a symbolic way of saying that he shows the Vishwarupa, which he showed to Krishna, showed to Arjuna. For a brief while, she gets totally, overwhelmed by this wonderful devotion. For a moment, she thinks, oh, what a fool I am to think that he is my child. He is the divine Krishna. And then, but such was the power of his Maya. He again, when she is surprised, he comes down, stops that vision and says, no, I am just your Gopala. I'm not, what did I see now? Oh, that is nothing. You are just, then he consoles, he says, you are after all my mother, my dear mother. And then she continues to feed him, to treat him as her own son. So that the divine manifestation of Sri Krishna, though she had the experience of that, these devotees, she is a devotee of the Vatsalya Bhava type, that looking upon God as the child. That is one of the bhavas, human bhavas, which our scriptures sanction, which is a very good way of reaching the divine. So there she wants to see him just as a child. The Lord is my child. Krishna is my child. And I am his mother. So that is known as Vatsalya Bhava. But if you consider God to be your mother, then it is known as Matri Bhava, Matru Bhava. Means you consider God as your mother and you are the child. It's a reversal of roles. So he says, some attitude. Two things Swami Sardhanji explained. I don't want to repeat what I explained last time. But one of the reasons he said why incarnations take up a human body and undergo all the sufferings that a human being does is that we get inspiration. If the Lord could maintain his mental balance and suffer all these trials and tribulations of life, just as any other human being, like just as we might expect to suffer in our own lives, and still practice devotion, practice sadhana and reach the goal of life, then he becomes a role model. We think, oh, our troubles are nothing compared to what Sri Ramakrishna suffered, compared to what Holy Mother suffered. So why should we complain about our silly problem? That is one reason that the human aspect is important for us to get inspiration, that God comes, even God when he comes as a human being has to undergo. So there's nothing new if sufferings come to us. That should not deter us from our sadhana. That is one of the reasons why God takes up a human birth with all the human weaknesses, with all the human diseases and all. That is one explanation. Second is the inability of the human mind to conceive of God in its universal aspect, in its transcendental aspect. See, human mind has been conditioned in such a way that we understand, especially people who are at a lower stage, they want God to see God just and develop a relationship with Him as we develop our own relationship. In that context or in that way, they are able to identify with their Ishta. God is my father, or God is my mother, God as my son, then God as my lover, as Radha believed Krishna was her dearest, more dear than anybody else in the world. That is known as Madhur Bhava. Then Shanta Bhava. Some of them don't want any kind of relationship. They are very unemotional. They said, why should we have this human relationship? We don't want to mix. We have a Shanta Bhava. Like Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Rishis had a Shanta Bhava. They accept the incarnation, but they just are very unemotional. There's no human bhava, but they know for certain that He is the Supreme Lord, and meditating on Him and with His grace, we will reach the goal of our life. So, in the scriptures, Swami Shardananji says, that is one reason, because to satisfy the needs of ordinary people, Sri Ramakrishna used to advise them. In fact, one old man loved his grandson very much. So when he always heard that he should give up attachment, he said, but then what can I do? I tried my best, but somehow my grandson comes to my mind. He is very dear to me. You just can't tell me to give up my relationship to that grandson. So Thakur said, there's nothing wrong. But try to see it. Slowly you try to convert that attachment and try to see your Ishta in him. Just try to think. Ultimately, you will see it in a very natural way that attachment to your grandchild will be converted into attachment to Gopala, or his idol was Krishna. And then you have that aspect of Krishna as a little child. So if you use that aspect or meditate on God or develop that kind of relationship or have that kind of knowledge when you deal with every dealing of your child with your grandson or grandson, and consider him as a manifestation of the Gopala whom I love, a day may come when you will really convert that human emotion or human attachment to divine attachment. Because you are seeing God, trying to see the God, seeing the child Gopala in that grandson of yours who is in flesh and blood. Similarly, when you take the Madhura Bhava of Radha, not that most of the gopis were married, they had their own husbands. And a lot of confusion is there, especially in Western. Some of the people said, how can this bhava be allowed? How can you consider God to be your lover? Is that not something which is especially married women? But we don't understand that they are trying to see the Lord in him. That love is motivated not by some kind of physical relationship. It is a purely spiritual relationship. And moreover, if you see the Bhagavatam itself, everybody considered, even at the risk of being criticized by society, that they were all married women, but still they would all come, and because Krishna was so dear to them, more dear than anybody else in the universe, more dear than their own self. That was proved when Sri Ramakrishna mentions this incident. This is a kind of love which ordinary worldly people will not understand. So when Uddhava comes to Vrindavan, you know that Sri Krishna never came back once he left Vrindavan. He was always in Dwaraka, Kurukshetra, everywhere. So one may feel that these gopis loved him so much and he didn't even care for them. because he knew their love was true love. It was not selfish. So just to make Uddhava learn a lesson. Uddhava also was having the feeling that Krishna, I am a great devotee of Krishna, like Narada. They always have that pride that there's no greater devotee than me. Then Krishna thought, let me teach Uddhava a lesson. So he sends him to these gopis, said, go and see. And he knew that once he goes and meets them, then he will understand what true devotion is. So he expected that the moment I go, they will, normally when you miss somebody, you'll say, oh, I miss him, I miss such and such person, I have not seen him, I'm restless. But they were not bothered. They knew he's not going to come back, or at least they were not in touch with him at all. But the only thing they asked him was, how is our Krishna? Is his health good? Is he doing well? Is he fine? He should be happy, that's all. We don't care. We may weep, we may have that viraha, that whatever it is, but it is good as long as he is happy. We just want to ask you, we don't even want to ask you when is he coming back or why he has deserted us. All we want to know is wherever he is he happy? So that was the kind of love they had. There was no selfishness in that. There was no physicality in that. They did not even seek his presence. Then Uddhava learns a great lesson. Oh, I thought I'm full of devotion, a full jnani, and he was thinking that he is the supreme among the devotees. But these gopis are far beyond my imagination. They are so keen about his health. How does he, see, he had this problem when he was young. Does he get proper food? Does he sleep properly? They are still in that world where they saw him as a 14-year-old boy. And they still hold on to that image, that such pure love they had for Sri Krishna. So, these are the different relationships which was considered. Another reason Swami Shardananji gives, as I told you, the first reason is that you get inspiration. That is why it takes the human form. Second is, for weak people, the human relationship is a stepping stone to a divine relationship. For people who are attached to their grandchildren, if they consider that Gopala has come in that form, and then slowly the affection or the attachment shifts from the grandchild to the real Gopala, which is the goal of their life. So Sri Ramakrishna says, don't worry, don't be too much disturbed. Don't think that your mind is getting distracted because of this. You just carry on, and one day you will see that the attachment you have for your grandchild will be converted into attachment to the Lord. So that is the second aspect. But third is very important. This is Sri Ramakrishna's wonderful advice, which is also there in the Bhagavata, Srimad Bhagavatam. But here he says something very significant. This is important to remember. Though he himself, as we discussed yesterday in our Bhagavad Gita class, in the 10th chapter and the 11th chapter, he is showing in the 10th chapter he is showing his Vibhuti, and in the 11th chapter he is showing the Vishwarupa. But Sri Ramakrishna says, these splendor, these glories, they in fact distract a person. Somebody was asking today that in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, if the siddhis are bad, the different siddhis which one gets as a result of yoga, practicing different stages of yoga, why is Patanjali describing? But at the same time he warns that these are pitfalls. You will get stuck, will not grow further. But they happen. So also here, he says, at different stages, devotees look upon God in different ways. So he says, the experience of God's splendor destroys intimate, loving relationship and devotion. He goes immediately, when you see the Vishwarupa of Krishna, Arjuna said, no, you just come back to the normal form. I want to see you as my friend. I know the Krishna whom I am familiar with. Out of curiosity, you asked me and you showed your terrible form first, then the gentle form. First, he showed the terrible form, how he is destroying the whole different people, how they are dying. He showed his true nature as Kala, Kala which finishes everything, gross. Kala, which is a great truth. The word Kali has come from Kala. She is the feminine aspect. That is why she is shown as one who destroys, destructress. She destroys everything. What does she destroy? She destroys the grossness. So also here he says when the idea of splendor comes, then you lose your devotion. Immediately Arjuna was feeling uncomfortable. He was curious. So he said, do you really want to see that form, Vishwarupa form? I'll show you. And he gave him the divine vision, and you know what verses, how horrible scenes he saw, how everybody is crushed and going towards death, and all the destruction as a result of the war, which has not even begun. And then he shows, of course, when he is too much shocked by the harsh realities of life. That's why Swamiji in the West, when he spoke about the concept of Kali, the concept of Kala, and God as the one who destroys, Shiva destroys, Vishnu creates, Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains. So this complete conception of Godhood is not only one who creates, but one who creates also destroys. One who is born also dies. That gives you a complete picture. But people want to see only the gentle side of God. So Arjuna, Krishna knew. Now the shock is too much. He is seeing in front of his eyes. He asked for Vishwarupa, but he is overwhelmed. So he says, okay, Krishna, please withdraw. I don't want to see your destructive form and as well as the gentle form. I had enough. I was curious, you showed me, but be the same Krishna who was there earlier. So that Sri Ramakrishna says that many of the devotees who are genuine devotees, they do not want to see the play of power or play of the splendor, because they feel it destroys the intimate and loving relationship they have with God and the spiritual attitude that they have, whatever may be. In Arjuna's case, it was Sakha. That is also one bhava, Sakha bhava. You consider God to be your friend. You go to him as if you go to your friend. Whenever you need his help, you go to him. Just as a child goes to the mother, you consider the Divine Mother as your mother. So also all the other relationship, the devotee is afraid, a true devotee, not a devotee who is having superficial devotion, but one who is really so advanced in his devotion that loving relationship he doesn't want to destroy. And as Mother Yashoda said, oh Krishna, you don't show me all these visions. Now and then this child Krishna used to show all the splendor. He used to say, no, please become your normal one. I just want to feed you butter and everything. Just treat you as a simple child. My child, it's my privilege to serve you. So that Vatsalya Bhava or the other relationships which one has with God, the devotee doesn't want to lose it, the true devotee. So Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel says, look, it is not good to ask for that kind of vision. You will be terrified when you see his power. Serving him and loving him and establishing a relationship of you and me will all cease. They will all vanish when you see his real form. How can I embrace this terrible form of my Lord? Is that the reality? So he says many people lose faith or they will lose that. So Swami Shardananji says, many times we requested Sri Ramakrishna, can we not have one vision? Just with your grace you have given, just by your touch you can give visions. So why don't you give that grace? In fact, Swami Vivekananda himself asked. He said, "See these two boys who say that they have these visions now and then, and I am doing so much of sadhana. You never grant me these visions." Even the Hriday once was pestering him because he was feeling a kind of inferiority complex, that everybody says they have divine visions, and I am so close with Sri Ramakrishna, serving him day and night. And so he said, "Mama, you have to give me now. I will not leave you till you give me the vision." Then Sri Ramakrishna said, "Okay." So he just touched him. The moment he touched him, he saw that both he and Sri Ramakrishna have been converted into a light. He suddenly felt he has lost his body. And that light was illumining the whole surrounding, and everywhere it was distributing joy. So Hriday started jumping. I mean, he was still in his physical form, but he suddenly had this vision. It was so overwhelming. He just started shouting loudly, "Oh, let us all go now," like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples, and just spread this knowledge, this wonderful light. Then Sri Ramakrishna understood he is not yet prepared. Then he said, "You such a fool." And he said, "I have so many visions. I don't just shout and jump about telling all my experiences. And with a small vision which I just touched you, and you are behaving like a fool." So he just touched him, then said, "Go back to your original form." And immediately you will see Hriday lost that. And he never repented because he knew that he will lose his human character if he. So that's why he says, Swami Shardanji says, that Sri Ramakrishna did not deliberately give us these visions, because then that intimate relationship with Lord, that connection with Lord will be lost. You will be either terrified if the vision is beyond your what you sought, or even if you see a gentle form of that, the moment you come back to the human form, you lose all devotion. So he says deliberately, he did not wish us means the direct disciples whom he loved. He says, "It's enough if you know who I am and who you are and what is our relationship. If that is known, that will be enough for you. That will give you everything, including Brahma Jnana." So, many people would say, "Please be merciful, give us this vision, your grace can make impossible possible." He would not say it will not happen. He will say, "What can I do? If it is Mother's will, you will have." He would not say, I refuse to give you. He said, "If it's Mother's will, you will have." Whatever, he says, "Whatever you wish shall be Mother's will." The masters, then the devotees would reply, "Whatever, see, don't put us off by saying that it is Mother's will. If her will is there, it will happen. That we also know. But whatever is your will, we know it is Mother's will. You and the Mother are not separate, the Divine Mother whom you worship. You have established an identity. So don't say it is Mother's will. If you will, then you can give us." So whatever you wish shall be Mother's will. The master's usual reply was, "My child," these are the exact words used in the gospel, "My child, I do wish that all of you have all kinds of spiritual states and visions that I had. But does that happen so easily? If that devotee still insisted with dogged faith like Hriday did, the master would express his love for that devotee with an affectionate look and with a sweet smile, and he would silently smile and say some nice comforting words, saying, 'My child, what more shall I say? Let the Mother's will be done.'" So it was very, very difficult to seek and to get some kind of vision for which the aspirant was not, or the devotee was not prepared for, because he believed that He, as a true guru, would that if you are not prepared for that kind of vision, you'll not find comfortable at all. You know, on Kalpataru day, somebody who was a businessman or was working in some office, he decided to just shower his unconditional grace on all. And some people had experiences, so much so that they would not be able to focus. Neither would they give up the world, nor would they be able to focus. And this vision was disturbing them. They were making mistakes. They themselves came back to Sri Ramakrishna. Please take away this vision. We don't want, because we are not able to support our family. We can't even do our normal jobs. Then Sri Ramakrishna smiled. That's why I told you, let the right time come. Then you will get your experiences. So, he used to believe that what really matters is how you connect yourself to that reality. What does the God whom you worship mean to you? Because it is that intimacy or that connection, making God the center of your life, considering Him to be your inner guide. We begin with a relationship like a father to the father, child and mother, or mother and child. So these are the different bhavas with which they begin their journey. But as the devotion progresses, they feel that the relationship has deepened so much that they consider the Lord to be their everything. So I'll conclude with one beautiful incident. There is a beautiful song which Sri Ramakrishna used to often sing. It was a Brahmo song where they, of course, accept the different relationships between a human being and God, but at the same time they say He is beyond all relations. He is the supreme reality. So Swami Sharadanandji was asking some spiritual questions. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, listen to this song. This song has all the different bhavas and attitudes and relationships. Select whichever you like and persist, hold on to that, and hold on to any one of the bhavas. You don't have to understand the whole meaning of the song. Listen to this song, and if you can hold on and persist in any one of the aspects which are described in the song, you will reach the goal. The name of the song, it's a Bengali song, Natha Tumi Sarvasva Amar. Pranadhar Sarat Sar Nahi Tuma Bine Kehu Tribhuvan. In these three words, I don't have anybody else whom I can call my own. That is one attitude. Natha means the father, or normally Brahmos used to worship God as the father, not very rarely as the mother. But of course, in this song, there is the mother aspect also. Because you see, all the Semitic religion, they have to give some kind of nature, they have to describe God. So our Father in heaven, we rarely see a Christian saying our mother in heaven. That doesn't mean there is a gender bias there, but Hinduism recognized this and they said it can be anything. If God can be father, why can't he have a relationship of a mother? So Natha means father. Natha Sarvasva Amar Pranadhar. So one of the aspect is my prana, the force, life force, which is depending on so many things. Food we eat, or the nourishment that we get, our prana changes. And we know when a person dies, the prana goes away from the body. That is what death is. Only the body remains without prana. So this prana needs adhar, support. So you support my prana. That is one way of expressing, or that is one relationship, one who is the support of my prana. Whatever I do, whatever my prana motivates me to do, is actually coming from the universal prana. Swami Vivekananda also taught that kind of meditation in the Raj Yoga. So Pranadhar, Sarat Sar, the essence of essence. If I think this is the essence of a Jiva, he is the essence of that essence. Some people do not want a human relationship. He said, I just want to know what this Jiva is, what is the essential aspect of a human being. Who am I in essence? They call it, Raman Maharshi used to call it the search for the self. Who am I? Who am I? So he is the essence of that essence. He is the self of the self, as the Upanishad says. So the different relationships, then the song continues. It's a big song, 3 stanzas. Then he says, Danda Data Pita Snehamai Mata. So normally we expect the mother to be more compassionate than the father. So when it comes to punishment, it's the father who does it. It in a figurative way is saying. So you may consider him to be Danda Data Pita. Many religions consider God as the ruler, as the punisher who will give you punishment, will push you to an eternal heaven or an eternal hell, depending. So that fear, the fear of God as a Danda Data Pita, you may be that, but Snehamai Mata also, the mother who forgives all my sins. So it is up to you. Swami Sharadanand is told by Sri Ramakrishna, you decide what relationship you want. You want to call him Pranadhar, that will lead you to the goal. You call him Natha Tumi Sarvasva, you are my all in all. Saratsa, the essence of essence. You call him the Dandadatta Pita, you call him Snemai Mata, whichever appeals to you. Stick to any one of these bhavas and you will reach the goal. So that is one way he used to insist that don't disturb your own spiritual relationship, and he used to tell each other, his disciples who had different bhavas, not to confuse the faith of others. If somebody considers God as in a particular way, you just don't go and disturb his faith and say, no, I believe in God, I worship God in this way, so my version is right. I am right and you are wrong. Then that will spoil. So he was very particular that the spiritual mode which one cultivates has to be consistent. If you want to succeed, you have to just assume some bhava. So he told Sharadanji, if you read too many books, you will be confused. Do something concrete. Catch hold of consider the Ishta to be your father, your mother, whichever appeals to you, give it a lot of thinking, and then hold on to it and cultivate that relationship in such a way that nobody can distract you from that. And don't distract others. Just because somebody else has one particular way, that doesn't mean if he's sincere in his path, he will reach the goal. So that was the idea. And there are so many examples he gives, but we are getting late. We will be late for Aarti. It's almost 6 o'clock, so I take your leave. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.